Support for this podcast comes from Goldman Sachs. What do Goldman Sachs experts and leading thinkers have to say about trends shaping markets, industries, and the global economy? Stay informed with the latest insights from Goldman Sachs on the economic and market implications of COVID-19. Available on our podcasts at gs.com/COVID-19 or any of your favorite podcast platforms.
Empire. What if I told you you could control Johnny Football?
Truthfully, everybody's had the idea. Everybody that's ever watched professional sports has had this idea. I think we're the four of us are the ones crazy enough to actually go do it. But everybody's watched, their sport of choice and screamed at the television and gone, "Are you kidding?"
That's Patrick Dees, co-founder and chief gaming officer of the Fan-Controlled Football League, where real games with real pros meets the eSports world in real time. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein. Patrick Dees was once an owner of an indoor football league team in Utah. He has extensive gaming background, and he decided it was time to merge the interests. And considering where sports and content are going, it makes a lot of sense. And his vision is shared with, among other notable investors/team owners, Trevor May, major league pitcher and big-time gamer. Our guests this week are Patrick Dees, the co-founder and chief gaming officer for the Fan-Controlled Football League, and new Mets pitcher Trevor May, who is one of the owners of one of the teams in the league. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Good to be here.
I mean, I think it's self-explanatory, Patrick, but do you want to tell everybody what the Fan-Controlled Football League is?
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is exactly what you would think it is. We are, ostensibly, we're building Madden in real life. We are the fusion of traditional sports and esports, and it's a football league, a traditional football league, where there are actual guys on the field and fans at home are controlling everything that's going on the field, just like you would with a game of Madden. The fans choose everything from all these branding elements of the teams. They're naming the teams. They just landed on Trevor's team's logo, the mascots. They make personnel decisions week to week. They're drafting each week, and then fans actually call plays in real time during the course of the game. So again, it's not unlike Madden. You're that lean forward experience. You're involved in everything that happens on and off the field with every one of you, with your team.
All right, very cool. Trevor, how did you get involved with it?
Well, it started with a cold email. It's funny, Patrick and I just talked, and it started with a cold email from someone from the team, and I've been pretty active on Twitch for the last about 5 years now, and I kind of got started when it was a little bit more rare for people that are professional athletes full time to kind of foray into the live streaming side of things, and it became a really interesting concept at first for me, just like how I could do it and how I could activate my personality and the things that I like to do and kind of like to entertain people. I mean, I think that's why I gravitated towards sports when I was young, and I've always done things like that. So it just made sense. And then, but even bigger than that, I got really interested in the business and economics side of why live streaming has become such a huge part of, I don't know, pop culture at this point. I was part of the huge Fortnite craze in 2018, 2019 with the big growth of all these huge streamers and things of that nature. So I witnessed firsthand the power, the staying power and the growing power of this whole idea that eyeballs, especially the younger generation, are huge onto the live streaming platforms. And because of my experience in professional sports, I'm very interested in how those two worlds are going to connect in every way possible. And this was just a direct connection. So I'm a huge believer in people or in fans or viewers or chat, as I call them, having direct connection to the broadcast or the broadcast, and having and feeling like they're participating and having a real impact of what's happening on their screens. I think that is something that we are just scratching the surface for. And I think that if you do that in a professional sports context that already has a huge fan base as it is. There's some it's really hard to even project how big that could possibly be. So
yeah, I
heard that. It just made sense. All the things that I my professional sports background, and then how it connects with live streaming and live interaction with the fan base. It just made all the sense in the world.
So we were really excited about Trevor. Obviously, he's got a big presence on Twitch, and with this league is kind of the first professional sports league purpose built for Twitch. So it takes advantage of all of these bespoke Twitch technologies. They create this really incredible experience. One of the technology they built is what we call an extension, and it's a visual overlay that sits on top of the screen, which allows the actual live stream of actual guys playing football look and feel like a video game. So fans will actually be able to click in real time on their screen, and Trevor just has such a big presence on Twitch. We saw what he was doing. He clearly understands the business side of this. And each one of these teams is owned by big personalities like Trevor. Clearly, he just got it. The other owners are guys like Mike Tyson, Richard Sherman, Marshawn Lynch, Quavo, are all owners in this league. And then seeing, Trevor's gamer DNA on Twitch just makes too much sense not to get involved.
Patrick, what's your background? Like, how did this idea come up for you?
You get asked a lot about that idea, and I think truthfully, everybody's had the idea. Everybody that's ever watched professional sports has had this idea. I think we're the four of us are the ones crazy enough to actually go do it. But everybody's watched, their sport of choice and screamed at the television and gone, "Are you kidding me?" Fans have wanted to have a voice for a really long time. I'm a technology guy. Myself and three of the other co-founders are all technology guys. We've all been part of venture-backed companies that we've had exits and whatnot. I personally am a huge gamer. Trevor and I were talking about this just the other day, but I grew up not even learning about football through my father. My dad is the best father. I think a lot of folks learn about sports through their parents and mom and dad. My dad was a great dad and wanted to spend time with us, but he was a vocal ensemble guy in choir. He was in high school. He was a drama nerd. And so I actually learned the rules of football through playing Madden, through playing football video games, and then sitting with my dad on Sunday and explaining what was going on the screen. Like, he actually cared, He was like, "Oh, that's great. That's the 4-3 defense. Cool." But I think, so for me, the idea of real-time play calling has always been coupled with my live sports experience. And when we were looking down the barrel of another exit, we were about to sell this company. It was, hey, look, what are those things that you're passionate about? I'm a huge gamer, like Trevor, very passionate about live sports. It's that last bastion of like authentic drama. And so, like, how do we fuse those two, and how do we give fans a voice in traditional sports? And we started down the path of building this league.
All right, so here's the big question, Trevor. Since you are an athlete, what if I could tell you which pitch to throw in a game? How would you actually feel about that?
I would feel here's where my mindset goes. In the context that I'm in, I will sometimes have pride and be prideful and stubborn when it comes to that stuff. But then at the same time, I understand the exceptional value of content. And there's actually a little event I'm putting together where I'm going to pitch to content creators and see, because I've had a lot of people talk and noise, a lot of my friends saying they can hit my fastball. None of them can touch it. Nobody can. Like, there won't be a foul ball hit, but I need to prove that. And so that's a little bit of my pride. But at the same time, I know that I'm not gaining anything from a, baseball street cred standpoint from striking out a bunch of guys that don't play baseball. So it's one of those things where you got to weigh that. But again, like, and I know I'm not them, and I'm not speaking for everybody here, but there's a lot of guys that are seeing this as an opportunity, players in this league. So I think there's going to be a lot of guys involved that get it and understand, like, it's a different kind of fun than they had playing football before, possibly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of opportunity for them. And it could maybe line them up for opportunities that they haven't gotten yet. I know that it's similar to the way other leagues, alternative to the NFL, namely the XFL and things, they provided opportunities for there's just so many football players, and there's only so many spots in the NFL. So, from an athlete standpoint, in my opinion, if I felt like there was more in me, and I was good enough to play at the next level outside of the last level I just played at. And I'm just looking for an in and an opportunity to show what I've got. I would jump at this opportunity, and I think that it would be it's super cool, and especially when these younger guys, a lot of them are going to be in their early 20s, fresh out of college. They're in that Gen Z group. They understand how this whole streaming thing, and it's all part of kind of life now. So I think that even they might even be thinking more in that context just naturally than I would have at that age, in 2009, right? So, there is a little bit of like, is this what I'm used to? Is this like the quote unquote super, like every game is so, everything's so important that we're keeping all our secrets to vest and stuff. I mean, no, it isn't that, but at the same time, it's an incredible opportunity, and it has just there's no ceiling in sight for what this thing could be, and that will translate to helping these players achieve their goals too.
Well, let me talk a little bit about betting. So I think it's different in the sense that for where Trevor is, I totally can understand why he wouldn't want people calling his pitches. But first of all, football players traditionally aren't calling their own plays, right? That is being called in by an offensive coordinator, and we're just putting fans in that position. And fans' football IQ is higher than it's ever been before. With the advent of Madden and fantasy football, fans know the game, like inside and out. And so they can have an opportunity throughout the season to be part of film, to watch, participate in a bunch of like off-field stuff. So they're going to know the players, they're going to know the plays. And the other piece of it is two other pieces to make sure that those plays that are getting called are good. First of all, we always will want to put fans in a position to be successful. So the algorithm, there's a technology that says, hey, we're only surfacing plays that we want called in this situation based on this down and distance. So you can't throw a Hail Mary on first down. I mean, maybe if the coach had game planned it that way. You can't put in your grandma on second down. There's a curated list of, at most, at the highest skill level, there's 8 plays that you could choose from. So it's not the whole playbook. We got to keep things moving. And then the second piece of it is you're graded on how well you do, right? Like if Trevor, we call it fan IQ. So Trevor's been calling plays from the beginning of the season. He's been doing well. He levels up and earns more fan IQ. So his vote is also going to carry way more weight than mine is. So worst case, I can pick a play that will work well. Trevor knows all of this stuff. His fan IQ is higher. He's a level 17. He's leveled up, and his vote's going to carry a lot more weight. So we combine those two things. We take the product on the field very seriously. Like we are putting together an incredibly competitive group of guys who, to Trevor's point, are looking at a shot at that next level, but they're also looking at a shot at creating their own brand and being part of, kind of the future of sports. And not one of these guys in this league is concerned about where that play is coming from. It's the different caliber of athletes can be really successful in this league. The guys that are going to be successful are the guys that are engaging with the fans off the field, right? Because if they're engaging with the fans, they're streaming on Twitch, they're creating content, their number is consequently going to be called more on the field. So, our guys and the guys that we're choosing for this league are really excited about it.
One more real life scenario, and then I'll let it go. At the time of this taping, about a week ago, the defensive coordinator of the Jets was fired for making a ridiculous call of a zero cover blitz in a game with 30 seconds left, and the only thing that can't happen happened, a bomb. So can the players veto what the fans decide if they think that this is really the wrong thing to do at a critical moment?
So, there's not a system that we're building that would allow players to veto it. We're actually putting in some contingencies that a coach could potentially we're going to vote on that rule, but could potentially have one veto per game. But, at the end of the day, it's still sports. If fans, for whatever reason, if players choose not to run the play that's chosen, then they're probably not going to be drafted again or chosen for that team the next week, right? They're just not going to have a shot anymore. And so, if they're not executing on what the fans choose, there's going to be real life consequences. I'm air quoting for their playing time going forward because fans make those decisions. So there's not a system in which players can look at it and go, nope, veto.
Like you said, I think that the important thing to remember too is the fans that then especially by the last week of the season, the fans that are making the best decisions more often are going to have the most weight to make.
Yeah.
So over time, the more data that thing pulls in, theoretically, it's supposed to give the closer to correct answer or at least the right play in the right situation. Similar, if you think about, any sport, like you're just trying to low risk, high reward, making as many of those situations as possible. I think it's going to be the incentive to not quote unquote meme and just like go try really risky stuff will be much, much farther the other way, making my call.
I'll get back into the Fan Controlled Football League for a moment, but Trevor, I'm curious about your perspective on all of this because you're actively involved in this. This is a very new form of content consumption that's way more inclusive than anything really Major League Baseball or some of these, traditional leagues offer to their fans. And I think you're kind of seeing the light of what content looks like for a modern fan in many different ways. Do you see a future where some of these old traditional sports start following this type of path and finding ways to be inclusive and social with their fans?
Absolutely. I think that, I frankly, I am in the slowest moving sport in terms of everything you just said by far, like not even remotely close from how we manage media through our central BAM and like just everything is kind of gate kept from a fan standpoint. Their access to players is very, very limited if the player doesn't do it on their own. And there's just not a lot of pathways through the league itself that is really like intuitive and easy to do. Everything feels like it's a hassle, and frankly, the MLB owns everything, so the incentive to do it isn't high. So I think that as a proof of concept, and I know from at least the branding side and stuff, this group did a lot of this stuff with the Salt Lake Arena League team, the Screaming Eagles, and that showed people loved it. Everything I've read and seen, they love that they got to participate in even some of just the kind of cosmetic stuff. So I think that listening to the fans at the end of the day, like professional sport, like guys, it came up depending on what you're talking about. Baseball got incredibly popular through the 50 years ago and has continued to go from there. But when it became popular, it was kind of a new thing. People were like, why are we watching people play a game right now? Because they didn't have time back then. Like it was very, very frivolous. And now that it's become a little bit less frivolous and a little easier to access, you got to remember the roots of where sport came from. People need to watch it and they need to enjoy themselves. And we're just at the step now where access is becoming the way that you create that enjoyment more and more and more with the technology around the world, where everyone's getting access to everything. And so sport needs to follow that model and needs to do it quickly, or people will just kind of find something else and we're seeing it. And I'm very, very open to trying a lot of this stuff. I know we're doing a lot of things in baseball that are kind of behind the scenes, kind of really, really focusing on home runs, really, really focusing on strikeouts. This is the more exciting emotional. Those are the heightened emotion moments in games, and we're having more and more and more of them. That's not on accident. That's on purpose.
Yeah.
And so, but yes, it's definitely something that the transition needs to be made more and more and more, and chances need to be taken a little bit just to get kids and fans and everyone enjoying themselves and feeling like their fandom means something. And that's the change in the world. It's not going away, and there's no way to really fight it out.
Yeah, it's access, though. I mean, the modern fan wants access, and you're in that wave of going on Twitch and literally connecting to them. And as you still want, I mean, what are the moments that stick out of a baseball game? When they put a mic on somebody in the outfield and the broadcasters are literally talking to them in the game. It's been very slow moving, though. And what you guys are creating here is a very different access level league. Granted, new, nascent, and you're going to have to find your audience, but it's just attacking it from a completely different mentality, really.
Absolutely. And if you're traditionally inclined and you're focused a lot on how things have always been, and that's what you enjoyed about it, I think it's really important to be open-minded to trying this stuff and going in with a little bit of a childlike wonder. I really do think that it's just important for all sport, not just our league, but all sport, that a lot of these things are being implemented, because it's just for the health of the sport and health of the market, but also just from the enjoyment of sports in general. It's just the way that the world's going. Just like things change, and we've gone through so many renaissances in sport that kind of are overlooked from the steroid era in baseball. Like that's not. It's kind of we think back on that stuff and we're like, oh God, we wish that didn't happen. But at the same time, it revitalized baseball in the '90s after the strike where the season was gone for a year. And the home run race between Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire was one of the coolest things I've ever seen as a baseball fan. One of the big reasons I wanted to be a player, and I wouldn't be here without stuff like that. And good, bad, or indifferent, whatever your opinion on it, how good it was, for the game. You have to respect the idea that people were watching, and more people watched then than they did before. And I think this is a really, really, really bold step in just like, hey, here's all these tools. Here's how we see this stuff playing out and all sport changing, and we're gonna freaking do it all, like right now. Yeah, brand new, just play. Let's do it all.
You see why we were excited about having Trevor May be part of the league? The guy just gets it. It's how people are. Look, I'm a huge football fan. I don't have 3.5 hours to watch a football game anymore. I just don't, right? This is how people are consuming content. Gen Z and older, they're consuming content in smaller bits. So that we try to build a league where those eyeballs are on Twitch using technologies they're used to, like that visual overlay, and then formatting it. Games are an hour long. It's a running clock. They're calling plays for their favorite team. They're in, they're out, and then they're doing the next thing. And so again, really trying to rethink. If we're rethinking football for the digital age. If it were invented now, this is what it would look like. It'd be an hour with a running clock, and there'd be no kicking because nobody ever has screamed, yes, here comes the kicker, those types of things. And so we're obviously pretty excited about it and excited about having Trevor here too.
Patrick, tell me a little bit about you are taking this from, okay, I am the Uber fan. This is how I want my sports to look like. And turning it into actuality here. So what are people like you, like-minded fans telling you as you are being guided through this about how to build this in a way that succeeds in the way that you're trying to go?
It's such a good question. We're looking at two cohorts, right? There's Uber sports fans and then fans of gaming, right? We're almost approaching this much more as a game first before anything else. You are gamified as a fan. You are gaining. We talked a little bit about experience. You gain fan IQ as you go, and so we spend a lot of time thinking about what is it like to play a modern AAA video game, and what is the process? What is that tutorialization process? What are those mechanics where I can pick it up? It's really accessible, and then there's it's easy and accessible to pick up, but a really high skill ceiling. So, our two sources of inspiration were like, what are fans looking for? Which is traditional. They want high caliber excitement on the field. They want unparalleled access. And then what do gamers want? They want something that's accessible, again, with this high skill ceiling. So we're building something that's really easy to pick up. There'll be a lot of nuance and ways to learn. And again, the more you engage with it, the more you're rewarded, the more weight your vote carries in the league. So that's kind of how we've built our approach here.
All right, Trevor, I'll give you the last word. Clearly, you are way ahead of the curve with engagement with fans and modern technology and access and all of that. Are you alone in clubhouses in Major League Baseball, or are there a lot more athletes like you out there?
The transition is happening very quickly. I would say it's much, much more prevalent in the NFL at the moment. There's a lot of young guys. Juju Smith-Schuster is a guy that stands out in my head, who is leaned way into it. I think it starts a lot with kind of representation. I think a lot of agencies are actually transitioning to creating a lot of those tools so that when they bring on someone who is younger or doesn't have a lot of experience with just generally being a professional athlete, they can kind of hit them with a suite of tools like, hey, we should set all this stuff up for you so you have the ability to do the things that you like to do. So that I think that is something that I know that my agency is something I'm helping them do. I'm creating like a lot of those pathways. But and the NBA is doing a really good job too. Now with kind of just as their league, it's kind of like their social media strategy is to like provide access to their players and do it in a digital. They're very digital thinking. And but yeah, I've seen, especially in the last 3 years, like it was just me. And then, there'll be one other guy pop up. Here's a prime example. I've been in the clubhouse with the last year and a half with Sergio Romo. He's been in the MLB for a very long time. Three-time World Series champion, and he's a very bubbly personality. Like, he's always happy. He's always loves to strike up conversations with people, and he loves to talk. He just loves talking. So I was like, dude, you should. And he loves video games. So I'm like, you should talk in front of people while you play video games. And so now he streams, and he's gotten way into it in the last couple of years. I get texts every week like, hey man, should I buy this? Should I get this? What should I get for this? What game should I play? Oh, dude, I saw you playing that game. Should we play that game? And I was like, yeah, do all the stuff that you're saying, please. And so I'm converting people slowly but surely. Even people who didn't have social media leave being a teammate of mine with their social media kind of moving a little bit. So I'm seeing the transition, and we got some other guys in the league. Marcus Stroman, who is going to be a teammate of mine this coming year, has been really, really active and being accessible, at least on Twitter, at least social media. He replies and makes sure that he's interacting with people, and that mindset's important. And then a guy like Trevor Bauer, who just started his own production company, and he eats, sleeps, and breathes baseball, and so he knows that market is something that he can capture on a day-to-day basis. And it helped that he won a Cy Young this year, so he's doing it just about as good or better than anybody in the league. I would say in terms of just like reach and tools that he's built around himself. He's got me even with growth on his YouTube channel and stuff. I give him those props. But his hobby is baseball and his job. My hobby is way different, so it's harder for me. But yeah, it's great. It's been great to see a lot of people buy in. I get lots of questions about it. The quarantine actually got a lot of people just trying streaming. We did a players MLB league with 30 different baseball players playing in the league, which was kind of unprecedented, and I didn't think we'd be able to pull that off, and we did it very easily, which was crazy. So yeah, definitely. There is a movement. It's starting, but it's in its infant stages for sure.
And Patrick, if fans want to get engaged with the fan-controlled football league, how do they do it?
Thank you for asking. We're at fcf.io or fancontrolled.football. Either way, go there, sign up for a team. You choose from the owner that is the coolest. I'm going to recommend Trevor May and the Zappers. Align with the owner and the team that you think is most consistent with your personality, and then go start to vote. We're doing. We just finished the uniform votes. We're going through all of the branding exercises for these teams all the way up to the beginning of the season in February. But join now, fcf.io.
All right, Patrick Dees, co-founder, chief gaming officer of the Fan-Controlled Football League, and one of the owners, New York Mets pitcher Trevor May. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
On the next Future Sport podcast, the trading card market has changed. It doesn't age like fine wine anymore. It explodes in the moment.
A big reason for this resurgence is that people are essentially using sports cards as athlete stock. And this has been a trend that's been happening over the past few years. And the reason why is for current athletes, the card price is directly correlated to how the player's performing.
That's Scott Greenberg, co-founder and CEO of Star Stock, where collectible cards go to be part stock market, part Sotheby's. That'll do it for this episode. As always, the future is now. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein. The Future Sport Podcast is brought to you by 3 Advance, developers of sports tech apps that are AI-powered and UX-focused. So if you're looking to create some apps for your startup or your sports biz calls for some artificial or business intelligence, you should check out 3 Advance. They're incredible. Go to 3advance.com. That's the number 3advance.com.